Good morning, everybody. My name is Gabriel Motzkin, and I am the director of the Van Leer Jerusalem Institute, so I am theoretically your host. And the first thing I'm going to do before saying my few opening words is to ask you to turn off these machines. And I'm sure all of you know how to do that. I'm going to address, before we get to privatization, I'm going to address a more general topic in light of what happened yesterday. And this is the topic of, I guess at the most abstract level, of entropy and order, which is that we are, as living beings, we create local order because we export disorder to the world around us. That's what you do when you breathe. You're exporting the chaos and the disorder to everything around you. And one of our great problems is how to balance the order and disorder in the world. Now, one of the ways in which people have traditionally done this is violence, and the violence is often pointless. It achieves the opposite of what it's supposed to do. In the modern world, we've had a very unfortunate development, which is in the late 19th and early 20th century, what happened was the assassination of political leaders, Empress Elizabeth of Austria, or King Alexander of Yugoslavia in 1934 in Marseille. Since World War II, this kind of assassination has morphed into something that can be called terrorism, which is to say the pointless assassination or killing of people who have largely nothing to do with the cause for which that violence is taking place, just as a byproduct of wanting to promote general violence and disorder in society. That is what we saw yesterday. One of the most vicious and perverted activities in the modern world is mass terrorism. There is no excuse or justification for it. Any political movement can attain its aims in many, many other ways, or can try to attain them. And what we strive for is a balance of interests. That's also what privatization versus state ownership is about, is the balance of interests. It's the general theme of human life, how you balance anarchy and order. But if all you do is promote anarchy, as terrorists do, then in the next generation you will promote tyranny, and there will be no defense against tyranny. And that is the consequence of all terrorism. And I just want to say that our heart goes out to the Turkish people and to the people from Turkey who are here. We have some experience of this, and we have no advice to give you on what to do and how to proceed. So thank you that you nonetheless have had the munificence of heart to have shown up here, and I hope that you have a good conference. Now, I'm supposed to do one other thing, so I'll do that. That is to greet you in name of the sponsoring organizations, which is to say, at Van Leer, the Center for Social Justice and Democracy in memory of Yaakov Khazan. That's our privatization unit. And the Contemporary Turkish Studies Forum at the Van Leer Jerusalem Institute. And, of course, we're very happy at our ongoing partnership with the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, both here, especially here, but also in Istanbul. And we're glad that both organizations, both branches of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung are here today. So I have nothing to wish you but a conference which will hopefully detach you from the pressing political concerns of the present and give you something to look at in the middle distance. And now I'm going to call on Dr. Werner Puschra to greet you in terms of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung. Please.
Yeah, good morning to all of you. Thank you very much, Gabi. My name is Werner Puschra, and I'm the director of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung Israel. Our office is based in Herzliya, not in Jerusalem. So I had to drive for almost 2 hours today to come here because a lot of traffic jams. But first and foremost, I would like to greet especially our Turkish guests and want to express my condolences for the terrorist attack which happened in Ankara yesterday. I think it's a great tragedy, and Gabi has already referred to it. There is no excuse for such kind of terrorist acts. And I really appreciate very much that you, all of you, still decided to come to join this seminar here in Israel, while you would probably not know yet whether some of your students or relatives or whoever you know might be affected by the terrorist attack, might either be dead or wounded. So thank you very much indeed for all of you, to all of you for joining this seminar and for taking the trip to Israel in order to take part in this seminar. This seminar is part of a longer-term series which we conduct in cooperation with the Van Leer Institute for a number of years already in order to promote Turkish-Israeli dialogue of issues and topics of common concern. You all know that the official relations between Israel and Turkey are not always good, bumpy, one might say. So I think it is very important that still it is possible to conduct such a dialogue between participants from civil society from both countries in order to get to know each other much better and also in order to explore themes of common interest, which you did already last year when I was not able to participate, discussing issues related to democracy, related to minority rights and the treatment of minorities in your countries. So all this is very important from my point of view, and it is necessary from a regional point of view to continue having those kinds of contacts despite problems governments may have with each other in order to maintain a civil society and a civil and civilized dialogue. Today's topic and tomorrow's topic, of course, is privatization. Well, you are all experts on privatization. Privatization as a drive, as a policy, has started to become fashionable in the late 70s up to the mid-80s. And still there is no end to be seen to privatization drives from my point of view, although we know now from all the experiences that privatization is not necessarily the solution to the perceived problems which they were supposed to solve. So certain requirements need to be in place in order to make privatization, meaning the change of ownership, relevant to problems and issues which need to be addressed. And not necessarily private companies and privatized companies are more efficient and more effective than public ones. So this is also a lesson we learned throughout history, not only in Turkey and Israel, but let's say around the world. We also know that privatization alone does not help, but what needs to be in place is a good market regulation, or in other words, competition, because when there is no competition, be companies private or public, then there is no incentive for companies to be more effective and efficient in what they do, be they private or public. So, say, subsequent and relevant necessary market regulation and competition is important. In Israel, I don't know about Turkey anything, I must admit, but my colleague Daniela is here and she knows everything. Ah, there she is. We haven't seen each other for quite some time, actually, but it's nice to have you here. So competition is very important indeed, and otherwise it wouldn't work. Secondly, from my point of view, privatization, or what I wanted to add is before I was distracted by Daniela, is that Israel is one of the countries where there is a huge lack of competition in many sectors. So according to the OECD, Israel is one of the most concentrated countries in a number of sectors, which means price levels are quite high, efficiency is low, and labor productivity is also quite low compared to other OECD standards and compared to the general income level of Israel. So these are challenges which Israel is facing. with regard to privatization. As I said, I don't know anything about Turkey, but you know more. Secondly, we also know that privatization can contribute and contributes to worsening of income distribution and wealth distribution as well, because assets are transferred from the general public to the private sector and are concentrated very often in a number of very few hands, and also with its subsequent incomes accruing from such wealth and asset distribution accrue to only a small minority in the population. So they contribute to increasing income and wealth inequality, which again is also a strong feature of the Israeli economy, which is one of the most unequal economy in terms of wealth and income distribution among the OECD countries, very close to the United States. Actually, Turkey does fare a bit better in that respect. But this is another challenge which needs to be addressed and requires also state intervention in order to correct the imbalances which occur. So there are also a number of other issues which are, of course, related to privatization. And I'm very happy that we are all sitting here together for the next 2 days in order to shed more light on those issues, and hopefully also be able at the end to formulate some kind of advice, some kind of recommendations how to proceed in future with privatization efforts, what is to do, and how to go about it. The Van Leer Institute has developed a handbook for privatization, which is available on the internet, right, Itzhak? And so with it tries to, we also help to put it up. So with it, Van Leer Institute is trying to give advice to policymakers how to proceed, what to do, what to consider. So I think it's a good instrument, a good policy tool, which hopefully will lead to much better privatization efforts than we know from the past. So thank you very much. I wish you a very productive and useful debate during the 2 days. I myself will only be able to be present here today because we have a period in Israel where lots of visitors are coming from Germany, because Israel and Germany are celebrating 50 years of diplomatic relations. So this is something which we also, as Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, need to take care of. I assume somehow that all of you know the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung a bit, I guess, so I would not dwell a lot on our own institution and history, but I would just like to say that the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung's activities in Israel go back already to the late 50s, where we started the first activities. At that time, promoting cooperation between German and Israeli trade unions and German and Israeli social democracy. An office of the FES was founded here in 1978, exactly after the electoral loss of the Labour Party at that time, and since then we are active here. By far the foundation which has the longest tradition and history and trajectory here in Israel. We also have an office in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, which is taking care of our activities in the Palestinian territories, including Gaza, where we also have a representative in Gaza as the only one of the political foundations of Germany. So this gives us quite a good capacity to be able to deal with the challenges this region is facing. So thank you very much again, and I wish you all the best. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.